Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, April 10th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 143 days, the game against Michigan in 234 days. We are back to football today after a brief diversion to basketball a couple times in the last few days. Ohio State spring game coming up Saturday, April 13th at noon. That is this Saturday. The forecast looks absolutely perfect. Cannot wait to get back out there. Put football in the horseshoe, always a good thing. Spring in Ohio, always a good thing. Looking forward to that. We'll also be at Ohio State later on today, talking to Ryan Day and new Ohio State running backs coach Carlos Lachlan. We'll be back inside practice on Friday. Lots of good content coming for you this week at Buckeye Huddle and at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. So you have that all to look forward to this week. Today you're going to be hearing from a new coach who's also an old coach at Ohio State. Matt Guerrieri was on the staff for the Buckeyes back in 2022. Then he left. He was the co-defensive coordinator at Indiana last year. Now he's back as the safeties coach for the Buckeyes this year. So what's it been like for Matt Guerrieri to be back in Columbus with the Buckeyes this spring?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been highly competitive, I would say. Even the film room is highly competitive. The field work is highly competitive. You got a bunch of guys, a good mix of veterans and young guys, and I think we talk about expectation being constantly on the rise, and that's what we've been able to do so far.
No disrespect to the Indiana Hoosiers or their players, but there is really not a close analog to Caleb Downs on that Indiana roster. Grer being back in Columbus, well, he has one of the best safeties in the entire nation at his disposal this year. What has it been like to have Caleb Downs in your unit room?
He's really special. First off, he puts the work in, right? So you could take, talent is a God-given thing, but the discipline and skill that you develop over time in your life, he's been able to do that, right? He's a really disciplined guy. He's the same every day from a mentality standpoint. He's the same every day from a work ethic standpoint. So you see that translate to the field. He's probably in the film room more than anybody on the entire defense, maybe, and he puts that type of effort in, and he's done a great job of, pushing the envelope with other guys to make sure the standard's that way.
One of the other projected starters at safety is Lathan Ransom over at that bandit position. Now, he has really not been on the field much this spring as he's working his way back slowly from an injury. Real concerns about him being ready for the fall. They're just sort of being cautious. And that has actually allowed some of the younger guys in that room, guys like Jaden Bonsu, Jalen McClain, they get a lot more early action than you might have expected this spring.
Yeah, first off, it's great for guys to be able to get opportunity, and it's on those guys to maximize those opportunities and me to have them ready for those, right? So I think it's been a good mix of that. And then from preparation standpoint, we dealt with this a little bit too when Lathan was out and had missed a spring before. He had 2 years ago a really good, successful, he's a Thorpe semifinalist type season for him. It's a lot of mental work. It's a lot of work in the film room to say, okay, what does it take to be prepared to be able to cross the white lines and be ready to go? Because the game doesn't care if you've taken spring ball or not, right? You got to be ready to go.
All right, so we've just talked about a couple different groups of guys. One being Caleb Downs, one being some younger guys who really haven't played a whole heck of a lot so far. So how different is it for Matt Guerrieri to be coaching someone like Caleb Downs as compared to some of the younger and maybe less experienced guys?
Yeah, I think everybody's held to the same standard, so I don't assume anything. Everybody's going to be coached the same way, whether, it doesn't matter if it's Caleb Downs coming out of a break or it's Jalen McClain coming out of a break. They're coached the same way, and the expectation's the same. But, yeah, anytime that you have vets and high-level players that are your hardest workers, that means something, right? And the guys are able to follow suit from that standpoint.
Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs, both known as smart players, veteran players who really know the whole defense, know what they're supposed to be doing, can maybe mix and match, play in some different spots. Does that give Guerrieri an option to maybe be a little more flexible and put those guys in different positions this fall?
Yeah, you do, because you have specific job responsibilities within those, but they become more interchangeable and fluid in how you can function within those pieces. It's not like a true strong or a free safety. You know what I mean? Those guys are able to complement each other, and you have more flexibility within your packaging to put those guys in position to make plays.
Want to touch a little bit more on the play of second-year player, safety, Jaden Bonsu, redshirt freshman. He was the subject of some signing day drama back in December of 2022. Ended up signing with the Buckeyes. Had a relatively quiet first year, but really sounds like he's making the most of his opportunities this spring.
Yeah, he's been a guy that's been on the rise. To me, from where he was when he started spring ball to where he is now, he's made more plays at practice. His eye discipline is better. His understanding of the defense is better, which allows you to be able to play free and be able to play fast. So that's what I've seen so far, and I expect that to continue.
And from one New Jersey native safety to another, let's talk about Jalen McClain. True freshman this year. He's another guy who, it's early. He's only out there in a lot of cases because of some of the older guys who maybe aren't playing as much, but another guy who maybe is making the most of his opportunities so far.
He's been great. First off, we do a thing where we track how well you run to the ball every practice. One of the things that we grade, right? So you can talk about all the schematics that you want. Coach Knowles has all that, but if you're not running to the ball, you're not playing good defense, right? So we track that, and he's one of the guys that every single practice is one of our highest grade guys running to the ball. So he's been awesome from an effort standpoint first, attitude, he's in early, he puts the work in, and he's made a bunch of plays out here. So no, I'm excited about Jalen McLean for sure.
There are some new faces in the safety unit. You've got guys missing time. There's always a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts this time of the year. So how confident is Matt Guerrieri in that safety unit, even given all of those different pieces?
Yeah, I do. And, it's been an opportunity for you have a couple guys that aren't out there, so you're able to continue to grow the depth and be able to see what guys can do, and you have increased reps from that standpoint. So I do feel confident. I feel confident in the guys that, how they've performed so far this spring, and then the guys that haven't been out there, I feel confident from what their abilities are, what I've seen on film, and then the mental preparation from that standpoint. Now I would go back to refer to, what Latham was like a couple years ago and taking that same blueprint.
When the Buckeyes added Caleb Downs, that obviously was a huge addition for this year's team, bringing one of the top players in the entire nation to the Ohio State defense. But can coaching someone like that maybe be a little bit of a challenge at times? What kind of challenge does it bring to bring in someone like that, who's not only one of the best athletes in the nation, but also one of the headiest players as well?
I wouldn't say weird. I'd say it's great, right? And because his preparation is so high level, it challenges you as a coach to be an elite teacher, right? Because he's going to be on his game. It's like coaching a professional player, right? He understands the concepts in the game so well. He's put so much time into it. As a coach, you better be matching or equaling that, right? Going above and beyond that, because if not, he's going to be a step ahead of the coach, right? So that's it's been awesome to be able to push each other, to make each other better. He's got a great understanding and feel for the game. He's a great young man. The work ethic is really high level. So every value that you would look for, not just for a skill or intangible, thing like that, but who he is as a person, I can't say enough about who Caleb Downs is. It's been awesome.
Mentioned off the top of the show that Guerrieri was a co-DC at Indiana last year. You're in the same division as the Buckeyes, or you were at least before they got rid of the divisions in the Big Ten. But you're kind of in a little bit of a different world there, too. A different level of athlete, different level of resource, different level of everything. So what did Matt Guerrieri learn from his year at Indiana?
I think that you learn different ways to be able to do things, whether it's taking the ball away or tackling methods or, the way that it's taught from other defensive coaches. So to learn from a different tree and thought process and philosophy, I pride myself on being a teacher, which means that you better always be learning, right, or you're getting behind. So I would say, just different ways to be able to maybe do similar techniques or things that have to be done from a defensive principle standpoint, and then, bringing that to the table as you step back and you say, okay, here's how I've always done it, or I've done it in the Jim Knowles system, right, and then you're in a different defensive system, and how does that get executed, and then you can blend some of those or pick what you like from there. So a chance to reflect, I'd say. Sometimes
when you see something every day, it can be harder to notice changes than when you go away for a while and then come back. You maybe see your kids every day and it doesn't seem like they're growing, and then the grandparents show up and go, holy cow, you've grown 3 inches since the last time I saw you. Well, that can be kind of the case with the football team as well. How different and how much better does this defense look for Matt Guerrieri than it did when he left a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that no matter where you're coaching, right, you have principles of defense and a way to be able to play defense, whether you're how you tackle or how you play in the red zone or different things like that. And there's metrics to be able to track that, and some improvement was made. Not enough, in my opinion, you know what I mean? But there were strides from that standpoint. And then, when you come back into it, you say, okay, the system here has developed in a year that I was gone, right? And then maybe I'm able to develop a little bit as a coach too, and from a positional coach or a coordinator mindset, things like that. And then you're able to mesh ideas and come back and you learn, hey, what's the new that's happened over a year? And then I was able to see the Big Ten from a different lens as well, so I think that's valuable.
Well, I mentioned off the top of the show, we will be back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center later on today, Wednesday, probably 11 a.m.-ish. We'll be streaming interviews with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. New running backs coach Carlos Lachlan will be streaming those live at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Plenty of coverage at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We'll try and probably do a live episode of the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast. I'm going to guest tomorrow from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Lots of exciting stuff coming for you. That's just Wednesday. Friday, we got a whole practice. Be in there for practice on Friday morning. And then Saturday, the spring game. Lots of Ohio State football content coming your way all this week at BuckeyeHuddle.com and at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. We would appreciate your support in both of those places. We want to support the work that we do, and Tony, Kevin, and I, and Mark, and Ross, and a whole team of X's and O's gurus. Well, the best place to do that is by becoming a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Love to have you there. We have a lot of great content for the team, recruiting, X's and O's, all that great stuff. Plus a very active and fun community on the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. And you can also subscribe at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Make sure you hit that bell as well. You get notified when we do live shows, live interviews, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have a bunch of that coming for you this week as well. Make sure you're subscribed both places. We hope to see you there. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.